Well, let's read the news, I suppose. Let's make sure my mic's coming through right. Sound good? Sounds good. Cool. Alrighty. So, first up, got federal judge orders Virginia to reinstate more than 1,500 to voter rolls. Um, it's almost like they're resurrecting the dead to vote because they were not on it. No, stupid joke. Um, so let's see. A federal judge ordered Virginia to restore more than 1,500 people to the state's voter rolls Friday after the Biden administration sued, claiming the removals took place too close to the upcoming election. Okay. Justice Department claimed Virginia ran afoul of the quiet period, a federal provision that prevents states from systematically removing voters from the rolls within 90 days of an election. But what if they're dead? What if they have been stripped of their right to vote due to a felony conviction? What if they've renounced their citizenship? I mean, these are all things that are verifiable on a case-by-case basis and would preclude somebody from being able to vote. Anyway. U.S. District Judge Patricia Giles, a Biden appointee, granted the Justice Department's request for a ruling ordering Virginia to restore the registrations in question at the conclusion of a hearing that began Thursday. With Giles declining the state's request to pause her ruling, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin vowed to file emergency appeals of the ruling all the way up to the Supreme Court if necessary. Let's be clear about what happened. Only 11 days before the presidential election, a federal judge ordered Virginia to reinstate 1,500 individuals who self-identified themselves as non-citizens back onto the voter rolls, Youngkin said in a statement. Okay, so they have provided the information. They themselves have been registered to vote, but they are not citizens and would be prohibited from voting. So I could see if this were done like just mass voter roll purging. I could see the reasonability in that. I could see the logic there. Because yeah, you might get somebody who would otherwise be able to vote, but because they got caught up because they got like a similar name or something stupid like that. I can see the rationale there. But in this case, this is 1,500 individuals who have voluntarily said they are non-citizens. They are not eligible to vote. They were removed because they are not eligible to vote. And a federal judge is ordering them to be placed back onto the voter rolls. Why? Almost all these individuals had previously presented immigration documents confirming their non-citizen status, a fact recently verified by federal authorities. Republicans have put claims of non-citizen voting front and center this election cycle, but available data indicates it's a rare occurrence. Well, we have 1,500 cases right here where, yes, they haven't voted yet, but this is how that is allowed to happen in the first place. Non-citizens also face steep penalties for illegally casting a ballot. Friday's ruling adds to a Justice Department victory in its similar lawsuit against Alabama for violating the quiet period. Defendants' constitutional arguments rest on the erroneous notion that requiring them to stop their systematic removal program within 90 days of an election would limit their ability to enforce their qualifications to vote. That is incorrect, the Justice Department wrote in court filings in the Virginia case. Defendants' constitutional arguments rest on the erroneous notion that requiring them to stop their systematic removal program within 90 days of the election. It would! It directly is violating their ability to enforce their qualifications to vote. They have the qualification that these people must be citizens. These are people who volunteered the information. They are non-citizens. The court is forcing them to be re-added. That is in direct conflict with this fucking state. What? Like, it's limiting their ability to enforce their qualifications to vote. Is it not? Are we supposed to assume then that Virginia is going to take law enforcement resources and place them surveilling these individuals until the election is over to make sure that they don't cast a ballot? That would be a violation of their Fourth Amendment rights, right? A federal government lawsuit was consolidated with legal challenge against Virginia's voter list maintenance filed by private groups, including Virginia Coalition for Immigrant Rights. Well, I mean, immigrants don't have the right... well, non-citizens don't have the privilege of voting. Voting is not a right anyway, even as it currently stands. It is a privilege. You have to be a citizen. You have to not be a felon. You have to... It's not enshrined in the Constitution as a right enumerated by the Bill of Rights. I think the amendment that lowered the voting age to 18 may have done so, but broadly speaking, it is not explicitly stated in the founding documents of this country. Well, in the Constitution. Well, Bill of Rights, okay. Sorry. I'm a little scatterbrained today. But this is just absurd. Like, absolutely fucking absurd. What about the rights of the other people in the country to participate in a free and fair election where the potential for abuse and miscasting or misappropriation of the right to cast a ballot, as they put it? What about their rights? What about their rights to not have to worry about this kind of shit because we have a transparent and reasonable law-bound system? What about their rights? Maybe I'm just idealistic. Maybe these glasses aren't blue light filtering. Maybe they're just rose-colored. I don't know. Next one. From the Associated Press, we have Biden at last visits Indian country. I see they went with the language of Biden's generation on that one, where he will apologize for 150-year-old boarding school policy. What, did we not give him... What was it, like Sloppy Joe's on Friday or something? Sloppy Joe, get it? Levine Village, Arizona. Hey, that's right down the road from me. El Presidente Joe Biden is using his long-promised first presidential visit to Indian country to formally apologize to Native Americans on Friday for a government-run boarding school system that, for decades, forcibly separated Indian children from their parents. Okay. Yeah, mea culpa. That's nice of you. The Gila River Indian community. That's just north of me. Democrats hope Biden's visit to the Gila River Indian community's land on the outskirts of Metro Phoenix in Arizona, also known as East LA, will also provide a boost to Vice President Kamala Harris's turnout effort in the key battleground state. I'm going to say no. Biden, whose presidency is winding down, just like his life clock, had promised tribal leaders nearly 2 years ago that he would make a visit to Indian country. He just kind of forgot. Forget about them engines, Joe. Man. Fucking racist. The president, in an exchange with reporters Thursday before departing for Arizona, said an apology for the U.S. government's role in the abuse and neglect of Native children was, quote unquote, something that should have been done a long time ago. Yeah, I agree with that. That's actually For decades, federal boarding schools were used to assimilate children into white society. What is white society? Define white society, please. According to the White House. Can we drop this bullshit of reducing things down to skin color? It's civilized society, thank you. Like, hate to be blunt, hate to fucking put it that way, but what was he like? I am not knocking the achievements of the natives of this land. Very spiritually advanced people. Lots of cool myths, lots of cool legends, lots of cool religions and spirituality and spiritual practices tied to the land. I respect that for what it is. I respect the architecture of the Pueblos and the Navajo down here that have their little hogans. All that shit. Credit where credit's due. However, to call it white society is such a disgusting insertion of race where none needs to be, that it is as offensive to me as it would be to say to civilized society for most other people. The two would be equally offensive, to put it that way. And apologize for the abuse, apologize for separating children from their families when you had treaties with these people and had fucked them over time and time and time and time again. Apologize for that. But to apologize for assimilating them into a culture, apologize for erasing theirs, sure. But do not apologize for bringing diversity to them. Do not apologize for introducing a different way of doing things and a different value system. Ultimately, the wrongs here were not the introduction of the white man's culture. The issue here was the erasure of the native culture. The two are not mutually exclusive. The two can coexist. This lie that you have to choose one or the other in order to exist in this political landscape is complete and total bullshit. There are things of value in white society. Hygiene, technological progress, putting people on the fucking moon. There are things of value in native culture, respecting your planet, respecting the animals and the plants thereof, having a connection to your home and land, recognizing your place and role in the overall organism of this planet. The two do not have to conflict with each other. So, fuck you, AP, for using an unnecessary inclusion of race into this when you could have just written it in a way that would have been more direct for what's being apologized for, as well as not denigrating a global minority anyway. Sure, white people might be the majority in this country, but globally, we're not. Especially if you don't count Slavs. So yeah, that's some fucking bullshit. If you switch the language on this, for decades, federal boarding schools were used to assimilate children into black society. How would that read? Why don't you think on that one for a little bit? The moment will also give Biden a chance to spotlight his and Harris's support for tribal nations. Bullshit. They don't support shit but themselves. A group that historically has favored Democrats. Can't imagine why. I mean, Andrew Jackson was a fucking Democrat. Or have you forgotten? Do we need a second trail of tears to remind you why you should hate the fucking Democrats? In a state that he won just by 10,000 votes in 2020, he didn't win. Court cases were thrown out, but my dad, who was living in California at the time, got a call from somebody here following up on voter registration issues and ballots being cast in other people's names when they no longer lived in the state. And yeah, guess what? Anyway, the race between Harris and God Emperor Donald Trump is expected to be similarly close, and both campaigns are doing whatever they can to improve turnout among bedrock supporters. The race is now a turnout grab, said Mike O'Neill, a nonpartisan pollster based in Arizona. The trend lines throughout have been remarkably steady. The question is which candidate is going to be able to turn out their voters in a race that seems to be destined to be decided by narrow margins. I wouldn't be so sure on that. Biden has been used sparingly on the campaign. Who wrote this? The language of this is so fucking just gross. Biden, who has been used sparingly on the campaign trail by Harris and other Democrats since he ended his re-election campaign in July. That's such a... I mean, I guess saying the quiet part out loud, I suppose, that it's just full on admitting that Biden was used, kind of confirming the whole like elder abuse thing that kind of fucked up to put him in this situation to begin with. But anyway, but analysts say Biden could help Harris in her appeal with Native American voters, a group that has trailed others in turnout rates. In 2020, there was a surge in voter turnout on some tribal land in Arizona as Biden beat Trump and became the first Democratic presidential candidate to win the state since Bill Clinton in '96. I don't know, John McCain won it, didn't he? I still think we should give the tumor that killed John McCain a fucking Medal of Honor for its commitment to this country and dying a valiant hero's death, but that's just me. Biden is making the visit in his official capacity and a formal apology, something tribes have long sought and seems certain to garner attention among Native Americans across the country. At least 973 Native American children died in the U.S. government's abusive boarding school system over a 150-year period that ended in 1969, according to an Interior Department investigation that called for a U.S. government apology. Good. They should apologize. That's atrocious. That's horrific. At least 18,000 children, some as young as 4, were taken from their parents and forced to attend schools that sought to assimilate them. And see, this part right here, this taken from their parents, forced to attend schools, wrong. This part is morally neutral. There is nothing wrong with bringing people into a culture. There's nothing wrong with sharing culture. The whole point... I really hate this cultural appropriation nonsense. I hate this notion that the exposure to the dominant culture of a country is somehow, by virtue of that exposure, going to erase the other culture. It does not have to be that way. That was a mistake made by this country when it was initially settling this land and stealing it from the Indians. I'll fully recognize that. We did some really shitty shit. Well, we collectively as a country, which nobody... I think Biden's probably the only person alive that might have memory of doing that, actually, come to think of it. But then there's also the whole thing of... the people being apologized to are generations past where any of this occurred. I mean, even 1969, that was 50... Was that 50... 50 years ago would be 1974. So 55 years ago? That's grandkids. Like, I if you were not the direct party wronged, it's just an excuse. I'm sorry, but the circumstances of your birth, no matter how unfortunate, have been so much more stacked against so many more successful people than you prior, and the reason you are failing has zero to do with the circumstances of your birth and everything to do with your willpower and your own determination to overcome that. I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's how it is. I, white, cishet male, according to this bullshit ideology, have every privilege in the world available to me. And I have never done anything to leverage that, because I would rather succeed on my merits rather than some stupid bullshit as the color of my own skin. And to say that I am more privileged than, say, I don't know, Barack Obama or any other person. Financial circumstances are more a player than racial, gender, cultural, any of that other bullshit. But even then, those can be overcome as well. And so to sit there and to play victim without having done the hard work it requires to raise yourself up out of your circumstances and achieve something beyond what is before you is... it's chicken shit. It's being a little bitch, to put it bluntly. There were children of slaves. There were freed slaves that had achieved more than some of these people sitting around bitching about this stupid shit. The reason you fail is you. The reason I fail is me. The reason you succeed is you. The reason I succeed is me. It has nothing... Nobody's doing anything to lift other people up unless it lifts them up too. That is the way of the world. I have less in common with a rich white person than I do with a poor, any colored person. A poor black person has more in common with me than they do a rich black person. I hate to break that to you. In case that's the first time you're hearing it, I'm sorry. I know it might be difficult to hear. But that is the reality of the circumstances. And even then, there are plenty of poor people that, through hard work, determination, and focus, and an actual genuine drive and desire to succeed, do. Like, it might seem trite, it might seem cliche, but motherfucking Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. You are the sole arbiter of your future. Act like it. That was a rant and a tangent. But President Biden deserves credit for finally putting attention on the issue and other issues impacting the community, said Ramona Charette-Klein, 77, a boarding school survivor and an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Board of Chippewa. I do think that will reflect well on Vice President Harris. I don't. And I hope this momentum will continue. You better not hope that. She added that whoever is the next president must follow up with concrete action and begin making amends for the devastation the boarding schools wrought on tribes. Get Orange Cheeto Dictator Man on it. I'm sure he would. He's surprisingly moderate on most issues when you actually look at what he does. It's almost like the news lies a lot. Democrats have stepped up outreach to Native American communities, yeah, because they're the only one they haven't burned yet. Both Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Seabiscuit Walz, met with tribal leaders in Arizona and Nevada this month, and Clinton, burn in hell, who had been serving as a surrogate for Harris last week, met in North Carolina. Yeah, because with the chairman for the Lumbee tribe, I'm amazed they're even recognized. When I lived in North Carolina, I got to the Mud People, as Brandon Herrera refers to them. But yes, Lumbees are not generally recognized as a tribe. So you know what? Props to the Harris-Biden Democratic establishment for recognizing them. I applaud that. That's good. Good job. You did something right. I can finally not just say, well, they're a human being when I have to find something nice to say about Harris or Waltz or Biden. Democratic National Committee recently launched a six-figure ad campaign targeting... you could have just given that money to them. You could have, actually done something for infrastructure and helped them rather than, being self-serving. And that's what I mean. They don't care about Native Americans unless they vote for them. Because if they cared, they would be taking that kind of funding when the cameras aren't around and using it to uplift them. Democratic Rep. Ruben Gallego, who is locked in a competitive race with Republican Carrie Lake for Arizona's open Senate seat, has visited all 22 of Arizona's federally recognized tribes. Harris started a recent campaign rally in Chandler, near where the Gila Reservation is located, with a shout-out to the tribe's leader. What was it? Hey, how are ya? I wouldn't be surprised if she did. She also reminded the crowd that she was the first vice president to visit the reservation. And, should they really feel all that honored considering she's been in the position for 3.5 years and hasn't said a word about them, done anything up until this point? I mean, shit. She even visited the border before them, and I didn't think she was ever going to actually do that. She and husband Doug Emhoff visited the community last year. Oh, so she did visit them before the fucking border. Holy shit. Oh my lord. I'm amazed Doug Emhoff was allowed to visit the community with his track record. Native women are disproportionately victims of domestic violence and abuse. So I think it's an odd juxtaposition, to say the least. I strongly believe that the relationship between tribal nations in the United States is sacred, and that we must honor tribal sovereignty, embrace our trust in treaty obligations, and ensure tribal self-determination. Cool, now just do the rest of the country. I would actually get on board and vote for you if you had that attitude towards everything in this country, and everybody in this country. Because that's how it should be. The White House says Biden and Harris have built substantial track record with Native Americans over the last 4 years. I would hope so. They have kind of been the chief executives of the country for the last 4 years. He designated the sacred Avi Kwame Desert Mountain in Nevada and Baj Navajo Ita Kogveni ancestral footprints of the Grand Canyon in Arizona as national monuments, and I apologize for absolutely probably raping those fucking pronunciations harder than, well, I'm not going to finish that joke. And restored the boundaries of the Bears Ears National Monument in Utah. Hey, one more good thing. Thank you. Good job. Why are you not running on that? Why is that not the positions these assholes are running on? That's actually, commendable. Instead I'm not Donald Trump. Okay, and? Can I do this? He has penis, you have vagina. I know that's difficult for the left to fucking figure out that, but run on that. What the fuck? In addition, the administration has directed nearly $46 billion in federal spending to tribal nations. Awesome. Good. I don't know if it actually has. The money has helped bring electricity to a reservation that had never had electricity, expand access to high-speed internet, improve... Why would you do that? Why would you ruin the fucking quaintness of that tribe? Why would you... What? Like, they got along fine without it. Probably better off without it, especially that one. Okay, improve water sanitation, that's a good one. Build roadways, okay, good. But electricity, high-speed internet, I think those are the devil. As I say, on the high-speed internet using electricity. Biden picked former New Mexico Rep. Deb Haaland to serve as Interior Secretary, the first Native American to be appointed to a cabinet position. Haaland is a member of Laguna Pueblo in New Mexico. She in turn ordered the comprehensive review in June 2021 of the troubled legacy of the federal government's boarding school policies that is leading Biden to deliver the formal apology. Again, that's something that's actually commendable. That's something that we should be hearing about on the fucking news, because that's actually a Democrat win there. As much as it might pain me to say that, it is a win. Not enough to get me to vote for the assholes, but it's a start and it's a good direction to go in. And if they had that attitude towards all people in the country rather than just these select groups, I'd be cool with them. But no. So fuck them. Tom Riley, co-director of the Center for Independent and Sustainable Democracy at ASU, said both Harris and Trump's campaigns and their allies have put remarkable amount of effort into micro-targeting in Arizona. Harris, Riley noted, has also focused on whittling away Trump's advantage among Mormon voters. Not going to ever happen, by the way. And Trump has put a special focus on young men as the campaign tries to narrow Democrats' advantage with younger voters. They're pulling out every stop just to see if they can wrangle a few more votes here and there. The Indian community is one of those groups that Harris is hoping will overperform and help make a difference. It won't. You're not running for a popularity contest, you're running for a popularity among the states contest. I don't know what else to tell you. Amir Mandi, Mr. Writer-Man person. I'm assuming Mr. Shitlord. Just assuming. Excellent tail end of the article. But holy shit, could you have been any more retarded with the way that you started this thing off? God. It's like a movie where the story is absolute dog shit and the first two acts are absolute dog shit, but like, for whatever reason, in the third act it just goes off the fucking rails and is like, where was this energy the whole time? Next story. This one should make everybody cry. This one's from the bitch that brought you the basket of deplorables and defended pedophiles, rapists. I think that's it. Probably murderers. Probably all sorts of other heinous shit. I give you... Hillary Clinton claims Trump is reenacting 1939 Madison Square Garden Nazi rally. I write about this in my book, she said, hawking her turgid scribe. Fuck. I love Zero Hedge so much, dear God. President Franklin Roosevelt, also known as the crypto-commie cripple, was appalled that neo-Nazi fascists in America were lining up to essentially pledge their support for the kind of government they were seeing in Germany, Hillary declared. Just in, Hillary Clinton claims Donald Trump is going to Madison Square Garden in New York City this weekend to reenact the 1939 Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. Clinton thinks you're a Nazi if you support Trump. And this is why you lost in 2016. This is why you lost in 2020 and had to, secret ballots at 2 o'clock in the morning. Look at the curves. It's like, oh wait, counting stops. Counting resumes up here. But you won because your guy's in the office, so whatever. One other thing that you'll see next week is Trump actually reenacting, like, everyone I disagree with politically is a Nazi. Come up with a better insult. Because eventually they'll just wise up to it and be like, okay, yeah, we are, so what? Get over it. Like, the problem with doing this shit is that it gives real Nazis cover. You think about that, you fucking retard? By painting with such a broad brush that anybody to the right of Che fucking Guevara is a Nazi, you are giving real Nazis safe haven among otherwise normal, well-adjusted, intelligent, and rational people that just happen to have a different fucking opinion than you. That's a good tweet. Can this witch leave us alone? Trump retired you, Grandma. Go to a beach or something. Based. This stuff doesn't work on anyone anymore. It actually just helps Trump now. Probably. The more they pump up this rhetoric, the more stronger Trump gets. God, why are people woke societies on Twitter? Every time they say this, it exposes them. America needs to come together. Anyone who disagrees with me is a literal Nazi. They don't want unity. They want you to submit. Yes, you're just now noticing this. As previously highlighted, a New York state senator attempted to get the event at Madison Square Garden shut down. Yeah, because that's about, that's democratic. Let's shut down our opposition's rally. Let's censor free speech. I have a Substack where I write about things. I've written about online censorship and censorship in the real life and how to de-radicalize people. You know how you de-radicalize people? You know how you bring people back from the brink of being a Nazi? It's not like this, right? The problem with extremist ideologies is that they can utilize piecemeal instances of persecution like this to justify their beliefs. If they didn't want, or if we weren't right, they wouldn't censor us so hard, is the typical argument made. And they would know this if they actually spent time talking to these people rather than just like thinking they know about it because they, went to 3 of their history classes throughout all of high school. But what ends up happening is that when you paint with such broad brush that you give real Nazis cover among the normies, the real Nazis come out of the woodwork and mingle among the normies, and they begin to recruit. And they do this by, hey, did you know that most of the media companies are owned by the Jews? Check this out. And they send a Daily Stormer link or something, and it proves their claim. And then so, wow, the normies like, wow, that's amazing, that's incredible, but, I like Jews. Jews are pretty cool. I like bagels, and, Ben Shapiro is pretty cool. And then they're like, yeah, but, there's a secret Jewish conspiracy to get rid of all the white folks. And, we're right, because anytime we bring this up, they censor us. And they wouldn't do that if we weren't right. They don't want the truth to get out. And then the normie's like, because, normie's a fucking midwit, he's like, oh, yeah, wow, they own the media, and then, wow, I guess you're right. And they start going to meetings, they start wearing Klan hoods, and the next thing you know, they're fucking lighting up tiki torches and shouting, he will not incite us, or whatever the fuck Shia LaBeouf was bitching about. And Charlottesville, I guess. I don't know, I'm just throwing out buzzwords, but that's how the progression goes. And the worst part about it is that you're giving the Nazis cover to mingle among the normies by painting with such a broad brush, but then when the ideas come up in the public square for discussion, rather than rebuking them on their merits because they have no merits, or pointing out these spurious correlations, or pointing out just the confirmation bias, or whatever the fuck might be fueling their persecutorial complex, you push them away, you push them into the shadows, push them into echo chambers, away from polite society, away from where those ideas are challenged and disproven, further validating the points that they're making in their minds. Rather than doing any of that, rather than doing this dumb shit, if there was truly a desire for unity, if there was truly a will to get rid of extremism or reduce extremism, to reach out to those people on the fringes and bring them back to the middle, what we would be doing is we would be shining sunlight on it. We would let them speak, because most of the time, in fact, nearly every, I would say all of the time, the moment they open their mouths, they are giving you the opportunity to prove them wrong. Because, like it or not, they will listen. They will change their minds. They don't hold the views they do because Hitler was a swell guy or they liked his art. They hold the views they do because they've been presented a distorted picture that has been reinforced through experience, and rather than showing them the error of their ways and, seeing the humanity in them and bringing them back to the fold and seeing redemption for them, they would just rather cast them off entirely. And so I say, fuck you, Democrats, because you motherfuckers don't listen. You motherfuckers are the most dogmatic, thick-headed, pig-fucking-minded, stubborn assholes when it comes to acknowledging you're wrong. I do it all the fucking time. I admit when my ideological opponents have a good point. Case in point, that last article on Biden going to the red man's hey, how are you powwow thing. I can readily and happily admit when I am ignorant on something, when I am wrong on something, because I don't see that as a shortcoming of me, because it's not. It means that I was making a judgment to the best of my ability based on the information I had at the time, and in the face of new contravening data, I adjusted. Being ignorant is nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to be happy about, because it means you still have more to learn. Anyway, Democrats bravely defending democracy again by attempting to shut down the free speech of a major political party's presidential nominee. Senator claimed that Trump event will incite violence because words are violence and actual violence is not violence to these assholes. Case in point, Summer of Love 2020, where, a career criminal man who had tried to pass off a fake $10 bill ate a fatal dose of fentanyl and overdosed while the police were attempting to de-escalate the situation. And, coroner's reports after the fact kind of prove that. But, don't let facts get in the way of a good riot, right? The 30-something people that died as a result of those riots, the 100-day siege of a federal courthouse in, I think it was Seattle or Portland, one of those two fucking third world shitholes. That's not actual violence, no. Saying Sieg Heil is actual violence. Do these motherfucking retards hear themselves talk? Do they actually think about the words that they're saying? No, because it's all vibes to them. The words don't mean anything. That's the problem with relativists to begin with, is that the entirety of their philosophy, the entirety of their worldview is predicated on nothing. They believe everything is entirely subjective, that all meaning, all context, everything is inherently meaningless. It is only defined by the relationships between two things and nothing. Ideals don't exist. Perfection does not exist, at least in the abstract. I don't believe it exists in the real. I do believe it exists in the abstract. But that's beside the point. But it's like with language. If we're just going to define things ad hoc, if we're just going to change the meaning of words to suit whatever fucking zeitgeist we're currently in the midst of, then potatoes might as well piano mask microphone because on the moon kittens play with rocks. It all becomes just garbled nonsense. You know, the string of random fucking word salad I spit out there to a relativist would make perfect sense, or it should, because if those utterances have no inherent meaning, if there's no greater system and organization of thought and agreed upon definitions going in, then yeah, language ceases to function as a meaningful way to exchange ideas. It's so much more insidious than people really give it credit for, but I digress. Yeah, these people are assholes. And let's see. Washington Post will not endorse a candidate in 2024 election, breaking decades of tradition. Fuck tradition. Tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. For the first time in decades, the Washington Post will not endorse a candidate in this year's presidential election. I mean, they really didn't have much longer to fucking go. They announced on Friday in a decision that sparked widespread outrage. They didn't say you couldn't endorse him, they just said the organization isn't. Washington Post will not be making an endorsement of a presidential candidate this election, nor in any future presidential election. Good. I think that's how the media should operate entirely. They should not take sides. They are the fourth estate. They are there to keep our leaders accountable, to hold their feet to the proverbial fire, and to fuck them up the ass with information and transparency. Period. No ifs, ands, or butt-fucks about it unless the person being butt-fucked is the goddamn presidential candidate or elected leader. Fuck them. The Post endorsed a presidential candidate in every election since the 1980s. Well, that's not very many, in all honesty. In a statement, Lewis referred to the editorial board's past decision to not endorse a candidate, noting that it's a right we're going back to. We recognize this will be read in a range of ways, including a tacit endorsement of one candidate or a condemnation of the other. How about a tacit endorsement of both and a condemnation of both? Because that's how it's probably being taken right now. Or as an abdication of responsibility. No. This is you returning to your responsibility. Keep at it. I applaud this. That is inevitable, Lewis continued. We don't see it that way. We see it as consistent with the values of the Post has always stood for, and what we hope for in a leader: character and courage and service to the American ethic, veneration for the rule of law, and a respect for human freedom in all of its aspects. I applaud this man. The Post reported the decision not to endorse in the election was made by the newspaper's owner, Amazon founder Jeff Penisman Bezos, citing two sources briefed on the matter. Newspaper owners typically play a role in their publications' endorsements and sign off on the editorials, which are seen as a reflection of their views. Spokesperson of the Post did not comment. Ahead of Friday's announcement, the Post's editorial page editor David Shipley told staffers that Lewis would be publishing a public note with the decision. The news is significant, not really, and I know that there will be strong reactions across the department. That's because you're just a bunch of babies. A person with knowledge of the matter told CNN an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris had been drafted and was ready to be approved by the editorial board, but was never presented. Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Many on the editorial board are surprised and angry, the person said. Marty Barron, dyslexia, getting the better of me. The Post's former executive editor, who led the newspaper through its coverage of the worst thing to happen to America since 9/11, sharply criticized the decision. Of course he did. What a fucking blithering ninny. This is cowardice with democracy as its casualty. Donald Trump will see this as an invitation to further intimidate its owner, Bezos, and others. Meh. What a little bitch. Disturbing spinelessness at an institution framed for courage. Go fuck yourself with a cactus covered in salt, you fucking twat. Under Barron, the paper went on to win a Pulitzer Prize for public service of its coverage of the assault on the Capitol. An attempted coup. am going to finish this article. I will finish this article. I will finish it. Oh, this is the most... This is... How... Any other decade prior to this... Well, okay. In any decade prior to 9/11, somebody this out of touch with reality would either be medicated or committed. Like, there's no other way to put it. During Trump's presidency, he famously feuded with Bezos, especially when it came to Amazon. Trump called the Post the fake news Washington Post and derided it as Amazon's chief lobbyist. I mean, he's not wrong. Trump directly accused Amazon of not paying enough taxes and taking advantage of the U.S. Postal Service. They do, and he's right. Among other claims. I would think the left would be all about that shit. They fucking hate Bezos. The Trump administration also blocked Amazon's $10 billion cloud computing contract with the Pentagon, which was widely seen as Trump seeking retribution against Bezos over the Post's reporting, which he's allowed to do. Sorry. You don't have to contract with anybody. Nobody has a right to contract with the government. Get fucked. It was Bezos, Barron wrote in his books, Collusion of Power, who ultimately helped decide on the Post's Democracy Dies in Darkness motto that was adopted during the Trump era. Washington Post journalists speaking on condition of anonymity told CNN on Friday they had mixed feelings about the decision. I'm glad the Post isn't going to endorse anymore, but what an awful time and way to roll that out. Okay, that's a fair criticism. If you've read the Post for the last few years and all the facts the news side has uncovered, I'm not sure you need the editorial board to tell you what to do. Fair point. Decision comes just days after the LA Times owner Patrick Soon-Shiong, that sounds Chinese as fuck, blocked the newspaper's planned endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris, leading to resignations from 3 editorial board members. Good. Get these fucking rats out of your goddamn organizations. Hire me instead. I like to write. Major U.S. newspaper chains have also scaled back on endorsement in recent years. McClatchy and Alden Global Capital, which owns hundreds of newspapers across the country, have ended the practice. Earlier this summer, the New York Slimes announced it would no longer endorse in local races. Good. The paper lately endorsed Harris as the only patriotic choice for president. Yeah, if your allegiance is to ideology and not principle. Yeah, cool. Final article. A little bit of a black pill, I guess, here, but, you know, we'll try to have fun with it. Missouri launches investigation into Google for allegedly censoring right-wing speech. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey announced Thursday that he is launching an investigation into Google for allegedly censoring conservatives. Bailey noted that Google is the largest search engine in the country and that alleged censorship is occurring during the most consequential election in our nation's history. Like, just let that sit for a minute. I thought last cycle was the most consequential, and the one before that, one before that, one before that. It's every election that I have been aware of since coming into existence. Starting with the Bush v. Gore, hanging Chads, dimpled Chads, pregnant Chads, whatever. Pregnant Chads, that sounds like a very modernity type thing. But every election since then has been the most consequential election in our nation's history. It's always the most consequential election in our nation's history. Can we just get rid of elections? I'm not even joking. Like, motherfuckers can't even put their goddamn shopping carts back. We are not cut out for self-governance, and the ones of us that are will make do. Google is waging war on the democratic process, he added. I am launching an investigation into Google, the biggest search engine, blah, 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 blah. It's time to fight back. Oh no, he's inciting violence. These claims are totally false, a Google spokesperson told Reuters. Search serves all our users, and our business rests on showing useful information to everyone, no matter what their political beliefs are. Okay, let's see. Let's do a fucking test right now. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Let's go to Google. Let's see. So we're just gonna see what the autocorrect does. Kamala Harris. So we got parents' net worth, rally schedule, husband policies. So let's see. Relevant. Let's see. Irrelevant. Relevant. So of the top 5, 2 relevant to the presidential, and then just biographical stuff. Now let's do Donald J. Trump. We got 1. We have social media, phone number, social media. 1 piece of relevant information. Let's just do without the J. Donald Trump. Let's see. So his son, news, shot, net worth, shooting. So 2 on the assassination attempt, 1 on the news. Nothing about his scheduling for rally events. Nothing about his policies. Nothing about anything that the media doesn't have full control over. Let's just try last names. Let's try this one. Trump. We've got news, Rogan, versus Harris, Harris polls, rally. So what? So okay. Just in the autocomplete. And if we do Harris, first thing for typing in Harris, and then it's Harris Trump polls, Harris Walls, Harris Trump polls, Harris Barnes. Okay. Let's do this. Brave search. Last names only. 2024 presidential election for Harris. That's what objectivity looks like. In case you were wondering. That's why I use DuckDuckGo and Brave. So, no, those claims aren't false. That statement is false, you fuckwit. Oh, shit. What did I do? Oops. Okay. No? Gotta monitor it? Fuck. There we go. Mea culpa. I accidentally deleted my scene and now I'm in Australia. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be a disembodied voice behind the window capture and finish this up because I'm a fucking retard and accidentally threw some text from the window onto my OBS and then accidentally deleted my scene for my entire news thing. But what we are going to do is these claims are totally false. Said no, that your claims are false, asshole. Former President Donald Trump suggested in August that Congress could shut down the search engine over alleged censorship, the Daily Caller News Foundation reported. Google displayed a misattributed fact check in 2018 on a Daily Caller article, which has since been removed. According to Daily Caller News Foundation, Google eventually suspended the fact check feature because of a DCNF investigation. Good. Pointer Institute attributed the inaccurate fact checks to faulty algos and not bias from the tech company. Groups like the Pointer Institute for Media Studies collaborated with the State Department to target conservative media, according to House Business Committee report. Ooh, spicy. After the first attempted assassination on Donald Trump, Republican Kansas Senator Roger Marshall sent a letter to Google CEO Sundar Pichai and announced he was launching an investigation into the company's alleged bias and censorship. In 2023, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has stilts in his shoes and he talks like this because he's kind of boring and white bread, said he was not opposed to regulating of the tech giant over its alleged censorship of conservatives in search results during his campaign for president. Good. On to the last one, which is just going to be a quick space weather update. Because this morning we had, from the motherfuckers that, excuse me, brought you the massive X-class solar flares at the beginning of this month, we had another X.3.3 from the same sunspot group. It's not directly aimed at Earth, but these sunspot groups are rotating back into Earth-facing disk and taking aim at us. We will receive a glancing blow, likely from, and we'll probably get more auroras. Cool. I just find the whole aurora thing rather concerning, I would say, given how everybody seems to be amazed by the fact that they're seeing them. Everybody seems to agree that they're remarkable and beautiful and blah, 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 blah. What is disturbing is the fact that so very few people are really asking, wait a minute, is this normal? I don't ever remember seeing these. Why am I seeing these? Why is it that weaker and weaker solar interaction is causing more and more brilliant displays further and further south when previously this had not happened? When previously it would take something like the Carrington event of 1850, whatever the fuck, to spark low latitude auroral displays like we have been seeing. Nobody is asking why. Or I shouldn't say nobody. There are plenty of people. I am people asking why. But I say all of this to say there's something wrong with our planet, or the sun, or both. I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm a college dropout that lives in his mom's garage. If I can spot this, if I can notice how remarkably odd it is to begin with, why can't anyone else? Why doesn't anyone else? I was not raised religious. I am not religious. I happen to be an animist. I do not follow religion outside of, like, understanding it for cultural context. But there's a lot of stuff in Christian theology, Native American theology, probably in Islamic theology, Norse theology. There's a lot of stuff about things in the sky getting weird right before things get really fucking bad. And I believe it may be prudent to maybe pay a little more attention to the things you typically cast off as superstition or mumbo jumbo because you just don't like it, or you don't understand it because you haven't taken the time to try to understand it in its own context, let alone why other people enjoy it. But that's that for that. I'm gonna unfuck my computer, or deleted scene, or whatever the fuck I did to OBS to wind up in Australia like this. But until next time, it has been fun. It's been real. Been something resembling real fun. be good, be safe, but most importantly, be you.
Really, nigga?
And on that note, I'm out.